It's rare for a fictional world to experience a pandemic that does any real damage. In the end, all the main characters are still alive, with the exception of maybe a few red shirts that were only introduced to die by some strange sickness. Unfortunately, real life isn't like your favorite show or film. Sickness spreads, and a lot of people are affected by it. If you have lost somebody during this pandemic, the Flesh Portal would like to express our sincerest sympathy. As we all muddle our way through these trying times, in this fandom called life, I can't help but think what our current pandemic would look like if our situation happened in a different, fictional universe. Particularly, how would the situation be handled by our favorite characters from movies and television? I've selected a few of my favorites, but I encourage you to pop over to our Facebook page or Reddit to share your thoughts. Stargate. An outbreak of a new virus occurs on Earth, and the SGC staff suspend all gate travel to protect their allies and the indigenous people of other worlds. The Daedalus has recently departed to take supplies and personnel back to the Pegasus Galaxy to support the Atlantis expedition. The USS George Hammond, having just returned from her maiden flight, sits in high orbit around Earth. Both ships are contacted and informed that a mandatory 2-week quarantine is being implemented. The Daedalus will take almost that long to reach Atlantis anyway, but has been given instructions to inform Atlantis about the outbreak. The Hammond offers to assist in any way they can while they wait out their quarantine. Days pass and an unscheduled off-world activation occurs. One of the SG teams is dialing in to report a few team members have fallen ill. The population they were interacting with has had several people reporting high fevers, coughs, and other flu-like symptoms. Over the next few days, several more off-world teams report the same. The SGC reaches out to some of their more advanced allies and requests aid to combat this virus. Meanwhile, still in orbit, the USS Hammond's medical staff is pouring through the data they have been receiving from Earth. With no cases on board, and not wanting to contaminate the ship and crew, they feel all but useless, but continue to analyze the data and contribute where they can. The Daedalus sends a message just before they leave communications range of the Milky Way. Their captain has been placed in quarantine, as well as their chief engineer. The medical staff is confident they caught it in time, and have modified the ship's air filtration system to filter out the virus. They are allowed to continue to the Pegasus Galaxy but are instructed to do a full quarantine and decontamination of their supplies and crew before leaving the ship. Another week passes, and even though the SGC has been on full lockdown, several staff members have confirmed cases of the new virus. The medical staff is conducting early testing on a new retrovirus to combat the outbreak. The virus has now spread globally, and has infected millions. Tens of thousands are dead, despite quick lockdown procedures by various world governments. The Department of Defense is constantly asking the SGC for updates on any progress, but medical testing takes time. The pressure is on. Meanwhile, in Pegasus, Atlantis has been unaffected by the virus. The Daedalus is in orbit and has updated the expedition on the situation. Half the crew has fallen ill, and several members have died, including the chief engineer. Atlantis chief medical officer is given permission to beam to the ship and assist the Daedalus crew. Several other scientists in Atlantis have been combing through the ancient database, looking for anything similar, and stumble upon several promising cures. Another few days pass and the Atlantis team has a functioning cure, as well as a vaccine. Without a ZPM, they are unable to get this information to Earth. The Daedalus, now at full health, transfers the much-needed supplies down to the surface and quickly heads back toward Earth with the cure. But it will be several days before they will be in communications range of Earth. The SGC, with assistance from their allies, has fully rolled out a working vaccine and begins global distribution. Gate restrictions are lifted and teams are sent with the vaccine to the affected planets. The Hammond is loaded with the vaccine and extra medical staff, and dispatched to Atlantis as a precaution. Before they leave the Milky Way, they get word that the Daedalus is almost home with a cure. Both ships are diverted to planets that have suffered massive damage from the virus. Stargate captivated audiences through 3 different series and several movies. While the Stargate universe isn't all-inclusive in who can use gate travel and who can't, the show does depict on many occasions the use of advanced medicine and technology. While it's mostly unclear if this technology is shared with the rest of the world, or only SGC personnel, there were occasions of viral outbreaks which were cured or suppressed. This demonstrates an ability to rapidly advance medicine. They like to use retroviruses throughout the series to cure or prevent different ailments. For this reason, I believe that in the Stargate universe, a lot less damage would have been done by COVID. That is assuming that SGC actually worked on the issue and released it to the people of Earth. Star Trek. Starfleet Command puts out a statement that the rumors of a viral outbreak on Earth are true. Tens of thousands have already died, and Starfleet Medical has been instructed to keep quiet about it until now. Several dozen ships and multiple star bases have all confirmed cases of this new virus. With the vast medical technology Starfleet has, several cures have already been synthesized and implemented throughout the Alpha Quadrant. Most of the cures have been sent back to Starfleet Medical, with documentation showing their effectiveness. Starfleet Medical analysis of the data is slow. With so many variations of the cure, they have to figure out which one they want to release for public replication. While some medical staff argue that it doesn't matter which one they pick, Starfleet Command is reluctant. Their goal is to protect the population, and there isn't enough data for any of the cures to determine long-term impact. Treatment of sick patients continue as doctors globally work towards making a vaccine. Several days pass, and a doctor far outside of Starfleet Medical Command leaks information about a cure developed on board the USS Pasteur. Starfleet security forces quickly discover who leaked the information, and are dispatched to detain the suspect. Before Starfleet is able to contain the leaked information, doctors globally begin replicating and distributing the cure. The Pasteur is recalled to Earth, and the captain is court-martialed for treason. They had sent an encrypted transmission, disguised as a love letter, to the Dr. Earth side. The captain gets a demotion, but is allowed to continue their career as a Starfleet officer. Star Trek had some of the most advanced medicine of any fandom on this list. They reference in several episodes having cured the common cold. Even headaches are a thing of the past. Which made me wonder if a viral outbreak of something like COVID could even happen. Their ability to identify diseases, make a cure, and rapidly disseminate it are unmatched. However, there are also dozens of episodes where the crew of whatever ship is headed to bring vaccines to some planet that's experiencing a pandemic. Which to me suggests that even with their advanced medicine, they have not cured everything. However, Starfleet tends to come across as an organization with a lot of red tape. While their overall intentions tend to be good, their implementation would probably be slowed. I believe Star Trek's doctors would come up with a cure quickly, but they probably would still lose at least a few red shirts in the process. Star Wars. A viral outbreak is detected on Coruscant. Medical robots work quickly to identify and combat the new viral threat. Coruscant is quickly put on lockdown, and a blockade is put in place to warn outsiders of this new threat. Powerful artificial intelligence is used to aid in the discovery of a vaccine. Patients who test positive for the virus are quickly placed in cryostorage to help prevent the spread. A vaccine is quickly synthesized and becomes rapidly available across the planet. The vaccine is turned into an aerosol gas and pumped into the atmosphere of the planet, ensuring that every person is vaccinated. Once the outbreak is under control, people who were placed in cryo are thawed and begin receiving treatment for symptoms. Patients with organ damage are sent to surgery to have their failing lungs and hearts replaced with biomechanical components. The outbreak lasts less than a week, and only a handful of people die from complications. In Star Wars, nobody gets sick. There are dozens of alien species that interact with each other regularly, on a vast number of worlds. It's likely that a lot of those species wouldn't even be susceptible to a human virus. But even if they were, I doubt there would be any noticeable effects. In Star Wars, everything mundane is generally handled by robots. Robots clean the floor. Robots do mechanical repairs. And robots do all the medicine. This suggests that sickness and injury have been figured out so well that humans and aliens have been made obsolete in the medical field. If that's the case, then an outbreak would probably be discovered and treated so quickly that it wouldn't even be noticed by the rest of the universe. Lord of the Rings. Shortly after the destruction of the One Ring, a plague ripped through Middle-earth, causing sickness and death to a war-battered human population. Dwarves, hobbits, ents, and the remaining elf populations are unaffected. As King Elessar attempts to rebuild Gondor, his cities begin to suffer the effects of this new plague. It starts out slow, spreading through small communities. But over several days, it becomes apparent that this new disease is going to cripple the kingdom. Unsure what to do, he assembles his people and encourages them to come forward with suggestions on how to handle the situation. A team is formed to search for a cure to this new disease. They comb the land looking for herbs and pore through old texts about similar situations, to no avail. Healers use the herbal remedies and treatments to care for the sick. Trade is soon shut down between the human kingdoms to slow the spread. King Elessar, realizing that his people cannot protect Gondor and fight the disease at the same time, calls on Lord Gimli of the Glittering Caves for assistance. Gimli masses a force of dwarves to come to the aid of Gondor. They are able to fend off many attacks by the Haradrim in the following months, as many humans fall victim to this disease. Their healers assist the humans of Gondor with the sickness. The dwarves establish supply lines to bring in new medicine, food, and additional support personnel. Gimli sends scout parties to look for Legolas, hoping that elf medicine might fare better against the plague. Legolas comes to Gondor and meets with both Gimli and Elessar. He has come from far across the land and has brought several different elvish treatments with him. Recovery finally begins as people stop getting sick and start getting better. King Elessar sends runners out to other human kingdoms with information of the cure. Some of them accept the help, but most do not, as they feel they will someday be asked to repay the favor. Over the next several months, the disease runs its course. It takes many years to rebuild the population of man. In Lord of the Rings, medicine seems somewhat lacking and crude compared to the other fandoms on this list. But populations are somewhat isolated from each other. Cities don't seem to benefit much from trade or travel, so they mostly stay put. While magic cures for ailments are apparent in Lord of the Rings, the elves don't seem too keen on sharing that ability with outsiders. While it is likely that some populations would suffer immensely, others would likely fare better through good leadership. The humans in the Lord of the Rings universe tend to rival each other, instead of helping each other. It's not likely aid would come from one kingdom to another. To make this worse, everything is so spread out, and every faction has its own problems to deal with. Though cooperation isn't non-existent, it is exceedingly rare, and generally only happens in the worst circumstances. As vaccines become more available in the real world, people have started to relax again. Mask mandates are being lifted in different cities across the country. Businesses are opening their doors once again. The last year has been difficult for many people. Many jobs were lost. Many lives were lost. People were forced to change their daily habits. As we prepare to move forward, it will be interesting to see what happens in the next chapter of the human saga.